We need locations too. Thanks for reminding me. Wypert?
I am here sitting in South Lyon, Michigan.
Okay. Markham?
Here in Novi, Michigan.
Cavell?
Here in Ferndale.
Biz?
Here, Auburn Hills, Michigan.
And Miller?
Here in Farmington, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America.
to the republic,
And to the republic
which stands,
which it stands,
one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Well, welcome to our first meeting. We need approval of the minutes. We don't have any minutes, so being a fresh year. So after that, we have approval of the agenda. We need a motion, a second. It's been moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Wyper. Now we need a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, ayes have it. So now we have the consent agenda. There's nothing on the consent agenda, seeing it's our first meeting. Now for the regular agenda. So, well, I skipped over communications. I apologize. So we need a motion for the communications for the facility management, facility planning, and engineering division capital improvement program first quarter progress report. It's been moved by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. This one we need a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. So now we'll go to the regular agenda. The first agenda item we have is Central Services Aviation Division Airport Land Lease EJB-OC LLC. This is for recommendation to the board. We need a motion to move it.
I'll move it.
Moved by
Go
Commissioner Wyper. We need a second. Second by Commissioner Cavell. All right. Anybody here to speak on it?
I'm here from the airport, Cheryl Bush.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. We have a new land lease this morning. This is simultaneous with the termination of an existing long-term land lease with the Becker Group. They have negotiated a sale of the property due to close on February 1. So we're looking to enter into a new land lease with a new property owner and new facility owner, and that is EJB-OC LLC. For those of you that have some familiarity with that group, they do own another property that they just acquired last year on the airport here. So this is their second entry to the airport. This is at Oakland County International. It's in our Astro Park subdivision, which is our private corporate area of the subdivision. It's a 30-year lease. It's at our standard rate with standard terms for provision of rent adjustment every 2 years. Are there any questions about the lease?
Any discussion? Commissioner Wyper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have some new commissioners on, Cheryl. So can you kind of tell them how it works? And we will see it again on rent adjustments. It's not like this thing is gone for 30 years and potentially that some county commission 30 years from now will see it again. We will still be active in what happens, right? Give everybody a little background.
Certainly. The county owns the land at the airports, and private individuals, corporations own the actual facilities on the airport. So our standard lease is set at a standard rate. It's currently at 28 cents per square foot. It's reviewed every 2 years. Each and every one of our land leases have a provision that each 2-year period, the rent can be adjusted. Typically, it's at a penny per square foot. And we'll be due to review that increase through the airport committee in May of 21 this year. So the contracts are all very, very similar. They're all negotiated through Corporation Council. And we have about 30 land leases here at Oakland County Airport, separate from what our T-hangar leases are, which are on a month-to-month basis. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion?
I have a question.
Commissioner Charles?
As I wrap my mind around these reports and things of that nature, I just wanted to ask, looking at the history behind it, looks like it's been about 20 some years roughly. How did we arrive at the lessee? How do we arrive at the company that manages it?
Well, the hangar is owned by, it has been owned by the Becker Group, and they independently negotiated a sale of their hangar. So once they have that agreement in place, then they approach the airport for approval of that sale to coincide with the land lease.
Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Would be happy to invite the new commissioners or any of those that have been around a while to come out to the airport and take a tour with us and get familiar. We're open anytime to have you come out and would love to have you.
Mr. Chair, I think that's a great idea. If we could get something arranged for the entire committee, and because I know there's new members also on the airport committee that will probably want to
Yes.
go through it. If we can do it in as one group, it'll be great.
I
Yeah,
agree.
we did that. We did that last year and it was really enlightening and enjoyable. And I think there's a lot of information to be gleaned just by seeing what's there and how it operates. So I really recommend it.
Yeah, we'll
Great.
get that scheduled as long as we can social distance and make sure it's safe. Of course.
Terrific.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to ask, did we get a motion on that? We did get
Yes.
a motion? Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
It was Commissioner Charles moved it, and I want to say it was Commissioner Wiper that seconded. Am I correct, Commissioner Wiper?
Might be vice versa.
Yeah, I think for this one, it was Wipert and someone else.
Okay. Charlie, that's right. It was Commissioner Cabell. I like the.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do
Okay.
roll call. Okay, roll call on item number 1 is Wipert,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays. And I just want to remind you about public comment. We kind of skipped over it.
Oh,
I
that's
didn't realize
right.
until now.
We can, let's, yeah, so the motion, the agenda passed. I appreciate that. I totally forgot about that being on Zoom. I got this different minutes here. I'm not used to it, kind of throwing me off a little bit. Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Bush, for coming on and explaining.
Thank you.
And, welcoming a tour. And we'll pause for a second and get back to public comment, just in case anybody's on the call that wants to speak, so they can get on with their day if they can't stay for the whole time.
Great. Thank you very much.
You currently have no callers. There are no online submissions, and there's no one in the building as well to speak. So there's no public comment today.
All right, thank you. And thank you for the reminder. All right, so now we'll move on to the regular agenda. Second agenda item is the Water Resource Commissioner transfer to the county's interest and easement and right-of-ways to the Charter Township of Highland Water Supply System. Need a motion? Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Charles. Who's speaking on it today? John?
Yes, good morning. This is John Bash. I'm the senior attorney for the Office of the Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner. And I'm here with Tim Prince. He is an engineer and our chief manager who has the technical information. And if there are any questions, Tim is certainly able to answer them. If you would like a quick overview, I would defer to Tim Prince.
Yes, so my name is Tim Prince. I'm Chief Manager for the Water Resource Commissioner's Office. And I'll start off with a little bit of background. So Oakland County has a contract with Highland Township to operate and maintain a drinking water system, which is owned by the township. Most of the properties in the township, about 80%, have private drinking water wells. And then the rest of the township, which is about 3,900 retail customers, are supplied drinking water from the Highland Township Municipal Water System. So back in 2001, the county, through the Water Resources Commissioner, sold bonds and constructed a water system improvement project for the township. And the standard protocol for these types of projects is to secure all property and easements in the county's name while the bonds are being paid off. And then once the bonds are paid off, the property and easements are typically transferred to the local municipality that owns the system. So the bonds for this project were paid off late last year. And so really this resolution is essentially a housekeeping matter to transfer that property over to the township. So if you have any questions, we would be glad to try and answer them for you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll ask to call the roll.
On item number 2, Commissioners Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Weichert,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next agenda item we have is the Economic Development and Community Affairs Resolution approving the provisions of a brownfield plan for the 2219 Coolidge redevelopment City of Berkeley project. Need a motion? Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Charles. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to the new commissioners, Commissioner Charles and Commissioner Cavell. I'm Dan Hunter and Deputy Director with Economic Development, and I'm joined here by our Brownfield guru, Brad Hansen, who's a Senior Business Development Representative. So Happy New Year to everyone. This is, I'll let Brad get into the details, but this is a former Catholic school in Berkeley, pretty much in the downtown area, Our Lady of La Salette, that has been tax exempt forever, and the last few years has been vacant and becoming functionally obsolete. And so a developer is ready to go with a plan to convert into apartments. And Brad, I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Dan, and Happy New Year to all the commissioners. As Dan said, this is at 2219 Coolidge in Berkeley. It's the former Our Lady of La Salette School, a 3-story building that they're converting to 54 apartment units, 7 studio, 41 bedroom, and 7 2-bedroom units, along with 109 parking units that go with the building. There's $718,000 in eligible activities in the Brownfield plan, and eligible activities for the new commissioners or current commissioners who still have questions about that. Deal with it, actually cleaning up the property and dealing with infrastructure through a Brownfield plan. Some of the big items on the eligible activities include the interior demolition and lead and asbestos abatement within the building. So their plan is to do interior demolition and get all the lead and asbestos out of the building in order to get it up to standards to have individuals and families living in the building. The city is also using a PA 210, a tax abatement, to freeze the local taxes for 10 years. So this is why it's a little bit longer of a payback period for a smaller eligible activities of $718,000, just because the local unit, City of Berkeley, is using a PA 210 to freeze the local unit, local taxes for a period of 10 years to further help the development go forward. So it's about a 10 or 11 year payback period to get the developer fully reimbursed for all their eligible activities on the site. And once the developer is fully reimbursed around year 11, all the taxing mills, all the taxes generated from the new project goes to all the proper taxing mills. So we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any discussion? Commissioner Charles.
Just to add, this was approved back in November by the Berkeley City Council, and then it was approved by our County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority in early December.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. I wanted to ask a couple questions. One is about how did this get initiated? Was it on the city side, the developer side, or the county side? My second question is, who's the onathon as far as tax abatements, which you'll learn over the years working with me. I am not a big fan of, having come from the school district where that meets us right at our front door. So I just want to know, you said the city and the Brownfield Development Group have all approved it. They find that this is a good thing for us to move forward with. I just want to know, like I said, who initiated this? Was it the city level, or and then who's the onus on?
That's a really good question. This was initiated actually 3 or 4 years ago, I think actually by a separate development group. And they came to both the county and the city at the same time. So we've had numerous meetings with the city on this, and in this particular developer, I know Brad has had quite a few meetings. So they were approaching both. The city of Berkeley does not have a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. So in this case, they came to the county, and we're happy to work with them on that. As far as the commercial tax abatement, that is something that is done at the community level. And the developers requested that because of the tightness of the financing on this particular project. They felt that they needed to have that additional savings, if you will, as well as the brownfield that would help recoup some of those costs. So the entire onus of this project is on the development team. It's not on the city of Berkeley, and it's not on Oakland County. So the sooner the developers do what they intend to do, they will get repaid over a 12-year time frame. So it's the city's very, very supportive, primarily because it's becoming an eyesore in their downtown. They would love to have additional residents in their downtown to support retailers and restaurants. And it will also be a very nice tax base for them. So one of the better projects I think that we've seen, I mean, they've all been good, but this is one that really has multiple impacts. Brad, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I just want to, not necessarily directly the question, but I think it's important to point out that these numbers in the Brownfield plan, the $718,000 roughly, are could be somewhat inflated We only reimburse what is actually paid for, what is invoiced, and what is they have proof of payment for. And that comes into our Oakland County DRA. I review it, then we send it out to a third-party reviewer to make sure everything is eligible and eligible to be reimbursed. So what is actually paid on the site actually might come in under. The reason why we do that is first of all, there's 15% contingency in it as well, but you never know with brownfield what you're going to run into. Whether that's, it's a former school, they might run into an old underground heating tank, oil tank. They might just run into stuff that they're not expecting. So we like to build in that little bit of a buffer, knowing that we only pay for what they can invoice and show they approve of payment for. Otherwise, if we come in low and they run into something, we have to go through the whole process and do an amendment to the brownfield plan. So I think that's important to point out that these numbers may be a little bit high, and we'll find out over a course of time.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
On item number 3, Commissioners Cavell,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Vipers,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Motion carries. I just want to make known that there's a public hearing set for January 21st, 2021 at 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now we have our next agenda item, number 4, facility management, facilities, maintenance and operation, FM&O, EOB elevator controller replacement project. We need a
I'll move it.
Moved by Commissioner Wiper, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. There he is. Morning, sir.
Morning, Commissioner. How are you?
I'm well. Yourself?
Good, good. Joe Murphy is going to be taking the lead on this one, but I wanted to make a couple introductions. We have 3 of my staff that are presenting the next 3 resolutions. For the new commissioners, I'm the Director of Facilities Management. Joe Murphy is our Manager of Facilities Maintenance and Operation, one of my divisions. Ed Joss is the Manager of Facilities Planning and Engineering, the other division. And then Paul Zakos is our Property Specialist. He handles all of our leasing and property sales and purchases. At this point, I'll let Joe take over on this resolution, and I'll sit back in case there's any questions that are directed towards the department as a whole.
All right, thanks, Art. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to bring this to the group here. This project is part of our 2021 capital improvement plan and program. It is to replace the controllers at the executive office building for 2 elevators that we have there. Not only the controllers, but when we do an upgrade to the elevator, we need to bring it up to current code, which means we have to do some stuff with the HVAC and the fire panels and the fire system there. This is a project that was competitively bid through our purchasing department. The lowest responsible bidder was ThyssenKrupp, and the total project cost with contingency is $321,725, and we're seeking approval to move forward with that.
Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one question. In the resolution, you mentioned a fault rate that's unacceptable. Can you confirm what that fault rate is and what the acceptable level is of fault rates?
Typically over this last year, I believe, our project manager, Steve Foster, is on the line as well, but I think we've had 4 to 5 entrapments where the elevator actually had a fault and we had people stuck in elevators. And of course, that's not, one's too many.
Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Murphy, could you talk a little bit about ventilation in the elevators? You know, in these days of COVID, getting stuck in a tiny little box with everybody else. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Correct. I know there is an exhaust fan in those elevators. And Steve, are you on to?
Yes, I am.
Talk about what the upgrade and the to the HVAC will do with that ventilation and those dampers to control that air movement better?
Good morning, everyone. This is Stephen Foster, project manager for facilities. The elevators themselves, meaning the cab, does not have active ventilation, meaning there isn't a fan, et cetera, and ductwork system because it's a moving elevator. But what we do have in the shaft is fans above and various fire dampers to control the air movement as well as keep the elevator shaft safe. So that's how the current system works.
Okay.
Commissioner Charles.
Thank you.
We've also limited the number of people in each elevator at a given time during COVID. And we have signage on each elevator indicating that.
Commissioner Charles.
Thank you, Chair. My question was to ask, when we go out for bid, 2 questions on that is simply, do we look to work with companies who are based in Oakland County? And also, do we always go for the lowest bidder?
The answer is based on purchasing policies and procedures. We entertain proposals from any qualified bidder, whether they're from Oakland County or from anywhere else. When everything else is equal in a bid, then we can take more intangible issues into consideration as we're scoring the bidders, which might include local, having a more local presence, a shorter response time because they are local, things like that. And to your other question, we are not required to take the lowest cost bid. There is a scoring mechanism that's used. So each evaluation criteria is given a score, a percentage before the bids are received. So pricing might have, let's say, a 20 or 30% weighting factor on a given bid. And so that plus all the other weighting factors help determine who the finalists are. Sometimes we don't end up with the lowest bidder. Quite a few times we do. We almost never end up with the most expensive bidder unless there's really serious extenuating circumstances because of the expertise needed.
So to add on to that, Commissioner Charles, we did a responsive bidder policy so 2 years now. Seems like it was last year. Last year went by so fast with COVID. So that's, and I can send you that policy that the board voted in, and then the executive office adopted. So you have a little bit of understanding of that to help you out. Is there any other discussion? I am seeing none. Call the roll, please.
On item number 4, Commissioner Spiz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Weipert,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion
Thank you very
passes.
much.
Thank you. Next agenda item number 5, we have facilities management approval and acceptance of joint project agreement, JPA, with the U.S. Department of Commerce, USDOC, for the use of space located in the annex building. We need a motion and a second. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, Paul. Are you going to take the lead on this one?
Good morning, Commissioners. Paul Zackos, Property Manager for Facilities. This is a renewal of a lease. The Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of Commerce, does their lease as a JPA, so it's their form. And it's a 1-year lease. They only allow it to go 1 year at a time. So we're renewing this every year. The lease is for 3,700 square feet. It's in-kind services. So there's no payment. Their services for the county's property use. And it's been a good relationship. It started a long time ago. I starting in 2013. Dan Hunter is on the line here. He'll be able to answer more questions about specifically what the Department of Commerce does and how it helps the county. But it's a very, very good relationship with their export people being right at on the county campus. So this is for, it should have been renewed back in September, but the way things go. And Department of Commerce takes a long time to get back to us with their agreement. So as of now, this is actually from 1 year from last October starting and goes to September 30th this year. So it's pretty much a lease, but it's not. It's called in-kind services, and there's a budget that goes with it. If you see the budget, that kind of explains those are estimates. Those are looked at every year to see if they kind of fall in line. So we're looking for approval of this JPA.
All right.
Thank you, Paul. This is Dan again, and this is almost like an extension of our Economic Development Office and the services. They specialize in helping companies that either make a product or a service export outside of the U.S., and they have some really good expertise. And so for quite a few years, we felt that having them here in Pontiac, Waterford, they could more effectively work with businesses in Oakland County. So it's a service that we don't provide in our office, but this is a really strong partnership. And I want to thank Paul and the facilities group for helping out with this particular item. Happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion? Commissioner Spiz and then Commissioner Charles.
I don't necessarily have a question relative to this topic. I just thought of something and I'd asked Mr. Hunter to call me outside of this relative to something relative to economic development. So.
Will do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Charles.
Thanks. I am very visual and definitely don't want to be a pain in the you-know-what. But whenever we have like things with facilities or their schema to look at, it would really be nice to get a little graphic inside the report, because I'm not really sure where this annex is. Are these folks going to be working in your building, Dan? And if so, are you okay with that?
They're not working in our building. They're over by the information technology on that side of the campus, west side of Telegraph. And that's where they've been since the beginning of this arrangement. So it works well for both of us, but yep, I'm visual too. So,
is there liability, like, just for the sake of argument, someone slips or something from this particular department, does that fall on the county, or does that rest with the federal government?
The lease, there are liability and insurance coverage requirements in each of our leases. So that is covered. It's been reviewed by Corporation Counsel. This is true, again, of all the leases, all of the contracts we have with contractors and so on. Commissioner Miller, if I may.
Yes.
To Commissioner Charles' point, and after a conversation I had with Connie yesterday, I'd be more than happy to conduct building tours, not only the new commissioners, but any of the existing commissioners here on campus, so that you do get a sense of where everybody is in relation to everybody, and a sense of how old some of the buildings are. And it also, as we move into the new budget cycle and we're developing the new capital improvement plan, it also gives you a sense of what the new capital improvement projects that are going to be needed are.
All right. Yeah, we'll get those all set up here in the near future for all the commissioners that want to join and the new commissioners. Thank you. Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
And item number 5, Commissioners Charles,
Yes.
Wypert,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
next agenda item is facility management, facility planning, and engineering, work from home configuration of office projects. We need a motion. It's been moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. And just before we start the conversation, I haven't seen my email yet, but I know Commissioner Spiz requested some information. I wasn't sure if it came through. It did? Okay. All right.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair. Ed, can I ask, because you sent me some information, and I think, William, you've seen it, and Wiper, but not the entire committee has seen it. Is something you can share potentially on your screen, or I don't know if I have the power to share.
I don't have the power. Excuse me. I don't have
Angela,
the
do you have the
ability
power?
to.
Because just like Commissioner Charles, I'm very visual, being an engineer. I like to see stuff, and that's exactly what this is actually a layout of the configuration, which I'd like Ed to walk us through. Pam, are you still there? If I forward it to you, can you put it up on the screen?
I don't have the capability right now, but somebody here does. Michael, do you have the capability to allow?
Ed, do you have the presentation ready to go?
No, I mean, for Commissioner Spiz to share. Can you make him a presenter, or Ed Joss?
Well, Michael can share it.
I don't have it, but I can get somebody to present.
I can send it to you, Mike, if you need it.
Okay.
I'll send it to you right now.
If you like,
wanna
I mean,
share it.
I can put you as a presenter if that would be.
Yeah.
That's fine too. I mean,
Okay,
then I
let
can
me,
share unless Ed wants to share it. Ed, is it easier for you to share or me to share?
Mike, if you want to share, please do. And if you'd like, while you're setting that up, I can begin verbally explaining what this
please.
project consists of.
Go ahead and try.
Good with that? Okay. So again, commissioners, as Art mentioned, my name is Ed Joss, and I am the manager of facilities planning and engineering. And as I'm sure all of you are aware, when COVID hit us almost a year ago now, many of the county employees that were able to began working from home. My group, as well as administration, recognized that working from home is not as much of a challenge as a lot of us thought it might be, and actually realized some benefits of it. So what my group was tasked with was looking at our planning and engineering group and determining who could continue to work from home after COVID is behind us, and if so, how could we do that? So for those of you that aren't aware, my planning and engineering group is not a very big group. There's only 13 people in my division. And for those of you that are not aware of what planning and engineering does or who we are, my group is made up of mainly folks with backgrounds in architecture, engineering, construction management, and interior design. And anytime there's any type of remodeling, signage, furniture, demolition, new buildings, anything that requires any extensive project management, those projects come to my group. So what we did is we took a look at, you know, our staff and their duties and what they could do from home, continue to do from home, and how often they would need to be in the office to oversee projects. And with that, we developed a schedule that would stagger when people would be in the office, and took our existing workspaces and repurposed them. We're proposing ordering some new furniture, including some mobile storage units, and taking our current office spaces and cubicles and making those hoteling spaces or hot seat spacing. So the plan that you see in front of you illustrates that, and I'd be happy to walk you through it. Again, my group is small. This would allow us to free up about 20% of our current office space. And with that, we're allowed then to create a mother's room, which we currently don't have on our floor in our building, which I think is an important need. So we have a mother's room that can also second as a private room for private conversations, phone conversations. Also, the offices that we are able to free up and will no longer need can be utilized by Joe Murphy's Maintenance and Operations Division. They're in need of some more office space, and actually we were, over the last year or so, looking at projects to construct new offices for them, which of course come with a cost, and this would help alleviate that cost. So hopefully that helps explain it. Hopefully it wasn't too much, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think Ed, one thing you also intend here, this is kind of a trial for other departments within the county to come take a look at, so that they may be able to take advantage of this. If we can get something like this rolled out countywide, we can reduce our footprint by about 20% based on your numbers currently, Ed, give or take probably. I am in full support of this. I think it's a great idea and a great first step, and we hopefully can learn from this.
So if I can follow up on that.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So yes, Commissioner, thank you very much for bringing that up. Yes, this is meant to, be a model for other departments. So other departments that we've talked to that are currently working on projects, we're suggesting that they look at a work from home model, and some of them are having some difficulty understanding how that would work. So the idea would be to bring those departments over to our space, show them how we're set up and how the hoteling and hot seat work is working, and also share with them the schedule that we've developed where the staff is staggered and allows us to accomplish this. So yes to that. The 20% that you mentioned. So as I mentioned, for our space, we're able to reduce our footprint by about 20%. Does that mean it will be 20% across the board for the county? We're not sure, right? Again, my group is fairly small, so I'm not sure it's going to be apples to apples. And, I explained to you, what our group does. So as project managers, we can very easily work from home because a lot of what we do are drawings, meetings, emails, paper, budgeting, scheduling, so on and so forth. There are other departments that, like IT, of course, I can probably work from home. But then there are others, like even within facilities management, Joe Murphy's Maintenance and Operations Group, they need to be on site almost every day because they are hands-on. They're the ones that keep our buildings running. So I don't want to go as far as saying it might be 20% across the board, but this is our start.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Markham, sorry, it's hard to see all the screens up top now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't really have a question, but I just want to say I appreciate that we're out in front on this. I've talked with Mr. Holsworth and Mr. Joss many times about, efficiency, energy, all of that. And the more we can do to make our offices flexible and consolidated, the better. And I think this ties into the comprehensive energy audit that's taking place too. I mean, you don't mention that, but it's obvious if we're consolidating space, we're helping with that. So I appreciate that you're way out in front on this, and I hope we can spread it all the way across the county to all the offices that this is applicable to. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, this discussion could probably go all day, right? I mean, this goes just beyond what we're doing with our footprint, right? I mean, if our staff alone is working from home 2 to 3 days a week, we're talking about saving on people getting in cars and having to drive to the office and emissions and so on and so forth. So we see a lot of benefits to this, the employees as well, and the environment. So.
Any other discussion? I'm not seeing any. All right. Call the roll, please.
And item number 6, Commissioners Weipert,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
So that's the regular agenda. We have other business. I have something, but does anybody else have anything else for the other business? Commissioner Spiz.
I'd just like to make everybody aware, if you're not aware already, especially for our 2 newbies on the team, if you haven't had a chance to go into the auditorium, there are some upgrades being made in the auditorium as we speak. So hopefully when we actually get back to be able to meet in there or have hybrid meetings, there's 3 new TV screens TV walls being put together and a total reconstruction of that room. So if you get a chance in your office, please swing by and take a look at it. Hopefully it'll be done in the next 2 weeks or so, and then we can start to actually use it.
Yeah.
So hopefully brings us into, I'm going to call it the 20th century. We're not in the 21st century yet, but we're at the 20th at least. It's a major improvement.
So the thing I have is, this is a discussion for the committee, is so we did the water drinking fountains for the schools, and Rochester actually declined the 20 that they signed up for because they wanted a new model, because they're getting their own. They want a different model than what we offered. So we have the funding for 20 extra. So the question is do we create a subcommittee out of this committee, or do we have the health and safety have a subcommittee? I remember we did the
Personally,
committee out of,
I think it's a health and safety thing personally. Even though I'd love to do it, I think it's theirs.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think it was out of Aggie last time, and not that I say one way or another. So I'm bringing it to this group to see what you guys feel. Commissioner Markham.
Well, I think it probably belongs in health and safety because they do so much more communication with the schools and the school nurses and that whole thing. So I think it kind of fits with that whole discussion. If there are schools that would like these 20, but haven't had the ability to get them yet, that's great.
Yeah, there are schools that have asked if they can get more, right? So that was the question. Do we cut the order by 20, or do we just continue with what we have, right? So that's my opinion, but like I said, I wanted to bring it to the group just to see what we were going to do with the subcommittee, make everybody have a voice here, and just instead of my voice, right? Because I think it goes to health too, but I wanted to bring a decision here. Anybody else have I see Charlie clicked on and off, and Yolanda, do you have something?
No, I disagree. I'm nodding.
Okay. Sounds like everybody agrees. So then I will bump this to the health and safety chair and have them come up with the committee from there. So that's all I have. But does anybody else have anything else or? All right, well, that's all we have. So we'll call the meeting adjourned at 10:23. Up.
Commissioner
Pam's got
Charles with something.
Oh,
I just want to thank you guys for my first committee meeting, official committee meeting on the books. I feel my colleagues here, both on the left and right, have made me feel very welcome. Thank you to the staff too. This I will remember for a lifetime.
yeah, welcome. I thought you were like using your finger to turn out like to end something. That's what I thought you were doing when you had your finger up like that. I apologize. Did you have something, Pam?
No, I was just gonna mention that Commissioner Charles had something to say, and maybe Cavell, did he raise his hand?
Well, I didn't originally, but now that Commissioner Charles, her first meeting, thank you. Now I gotta, thanks everybody. You guys are so great, and all the stuff Commissioner Charles said.
You're
Mr.
muted.
Wiper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Other business, maybe at the next meeting, you could have Health Department give us a vaccine update. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
We're in a health crisis and an economic crisis, so I mean.
I will do so, Commissioner. I'll reach out and have someone present at the next meeting as long as you all
I would
agree
hope
for
we'd
it
have
to
something. I
be
think
on
our
the
next meeting,
agenda.
isn't our
Pardon
next
me?
meeting after the board meeting?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Our next meeting is after the board meeting, right?
Yes,
So I would hope to get one at the board meeting.
we would hope so. Yes, I can check on that as well and send you all an
Thank you.
email if you would like.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you, I think it could be suggested as a regular update, or it's
I was
not
thinking
only
the
health.
same.
They gave a pretty full update at Health and Safety yesterday too, so they should be able to bring that to the board for sure.
I mean, I to piggyback off Commissioner Wiper is like he said, a regular update. If we get even if we get one every week, like we get one in our committee, we get one at the board, because it's everything changes weekly, right? There's always new information, there's always new stuff going on. So I think that's what Commissioner Wiper was asking, to kind of have that regular update, so we can. I'm sure everybody. I'm getting calls and emails. I'm sure, but everybody else is.
Okay, I will check
yeah.
in it in that way, Commissioner. Sure will.
I appreciate that. Go ahead, Charlie. Or Commissioner Cavall. I'm sorry. I'm so used to call you Charlie.
No, you're cool. I believe Deputy Executive Chambers, Hillary, sent an email out. I think it was just this morning. So, y'all getting ready for this meeting, but I think she also sent out a thing saying there's a couple of updates.
Yeah, it went out last night, I believe.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Well, now we'll close the the meeting at 10:26. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.